Cool. So let's go ahead and kick it off. Welcome to session 6 of the Web Dev Bootcamp. For anybody that's new here or joining us from recording, this is the end of the. Are we in the second week or third week? I guess we're on the third week already of the Web Dev Bootcamp. So we're almost done with the foundations part. Next week we're going to start to dive into the world of JavaScript, which. If you've been here before, you'll hear me say a lot that JavaScript is really the core skill that we're trying to develop here, just because it's a little more required to be a developer these days. And, all the stuff we're doing with HTML, CSS is important as well. But really, once we get into next week, the pace is gonna start to pick up a little bit. So I'm excited for that. And with that, yeah. So last time, we could just get right into the recap. So last time we got an intro to Tailwind, and we started by just building our first website by copy and pasting components, right? We learned that Tailwind is very convenient. It's nice that they give us a lot of classes in HTML that we can just go and use to style our app. But we also learned that the number of classes sometimes can be a little overwhelming. So it's, like I said, and this is something I repeat a lot, it's not a or not a matter of memorization, right? This is not like school. You don't have to remember every single Tailwind class. I mean, I've been writing Tailwind for quite some time now, and I still have to look things up every single day when I work with Tailwind. And I think it's just we want to get used to the fact that we're not going to have everything memorized, but we just want to be able to know how to apply things, and that's really kind of the goal here. Cool. So let's go over the agenda. The agenda is pretty short today since today is Thursday, so we usually do more projects on Thursday. Today we're going to be building a landing page, or at least the hero section of a landing page, and we're going to be trying to do that from scratch with Tailwind. So usually how this goes is I share my screen, I share my code editor, share my browser. I start to kind of build the site, and you're welcome and encouraged to follow along if you can, but if not, there's no worries. There's always the homework, which usually involves kind of building a similar project, so you can practice that skill. And then we'll talk about the homework, like exactly what that entails, and then we'll save some time for Q&A. So pretty straightforward today. Cool. So we can just dive right into it, just building a Tailwind site from scratch, right? Last time we created a new file, and then we just kind of copy and paste the components. The goal today is to we're still going to be copy and pasting, but we're going to be kind of building the structure just from the ground up mostly. So that's what our goal is today. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and just get that started. So I'm going to go ahead and shrink my browser over, and I'm going to open my Visual. Well, actually, first let's start from the beginning. So all these projects, you're encouraged to put on your GitHub. Just it's nice for your own portfolio. It's nice to get those GitHub green squares, if you know what I'm talking about. On GitHub, like every time you push code up there, it tracks like your streak, basically. If you've used Duolingo, it's kind of similar to that. So if you look at my profile, this part. If you go to your GitHub profile and you scroll down to contributions, you can see like each square is when you push something to GitHub. Mine doesn't look that good, actually. I'm surprised. I thought I would have more squares, but I guess I don't do a lot of pushing. I just do a lot of local development. But that's why it's good to be committing and pushing a lot, because you get this vanity metric of seeing all these nice green squares. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do the same usual flow that we usually do when we create a project. We're going to start with a Git repository, and then we're going to, just start building the HTML from scratch. So let's go ahead and open up GitHub Desktop. All right, so GitHub Desktop, oopsies, let me move that over. All right, I got GitHub Desktop open right here. I'm going to create a brand new repository. So I'm going to go to Add, create a new repository. I'm going to let's call it Tailwind Landing Page. Okay, Tailwind Landing. Once again, you don't have to fill in the description, but if you want to, you're welcome to. Really, the only two important parts are making sure you fill out the name and making sure you choose the folder that all of your bootcamp projects or just code projects are in. So in this case, I have a projects folder called Bootcamp projects, which is where I'm holding all the bootcamp projects, and you can just leave these blank. It's not really required here. So a quick note on Git. I did say on Tuesday that I was thinking about doing Git today, but after thinking about it more, I decided, I think the priority, I don't want to keep jumping around too much. I think Tailwind is where it deserves another session. So that's why we're focusing on it today. We will definitely do Git. It's just the hard parts of Git are honestly a little difficult to teach in the beginning because there's not the hard parts of Git are dealing with team conflict, code conflicts and stuff like that, which is kind of hard to simulate right now. So I think as our projects get more complex, then there'll be more of a need for it. And that's when I think it's a better time to introduce more Git stuff. So, we'll probably get into JavaScript first and then Git, but just to give everyone a clear idea there. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and just create this repository. Okay, so now we have a blank repository, right? It's basically just like an empty folder with some Git stuff in it. Now I want us to open this folder in our code editor. So for most people, you can just press this button, but since I have a different version of VS Code, I'm going to go ahead and show in my Finder an empty folder, right? I'm gonna move up, and one easy way to move up on Mac, maybe Windows as well, is to do Command up, and then that takes you to folder outside. So I'm gonna take my folder and I'm gonna drag it into my editor, which I have. Wait, actually I don't have it yet. I guess I have to open up my editor first. So I'm gonna open up my editor, and then I'm going to go ahead and cool. I'm going to go ahead and drag the Tailwind site into here. And Jackie just let me know that my stream is 720. Let me see if I can upgrade the quality. I don't know if I can actually. Yeah, let me know if the quality is an issue. I'm trying to figure out why the quality isn't going up. It should be. Oh, weird. All right, well, if anybody knows how to, oh, not while streaming. Okay, no worries. Well, hopefully it's still kind of clear. If it's not, then do let me know. I can see if I can improve it. It might be my internet connection. But yeah, let me know if it is a problem. The quality is poor. But it's weird. Okay, cool. Anyways, we have our folder open. I'm gonna go ahead and close this stuff out. Hide it a little bit. So we have our nice little setup of a code editor on the right, and then our browser on the left. And we're going to go ahead and, if you've been here with us before, you're kind of familiar with this exercise. So we're going to go ahead and create our index.html file. I'm going to click it up here, new file, type in index.html. All right, so, and this is where I'm going to just start setting up our basic HTML structure, same as usual. If you've been with us before, then hopefully this is starting to become muscle memory, right? So doc type, HTML, and then we have the HTML tag, then our head tag, and let's go ahead and just give it a title. Let's say, I don't know, my landing page. And then I'm going to also do the meta, the viewport tag. So it's meta viewport. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. Let's see if I remember. So I think it's meta name equals viewport. Oops, viewport. Let me make the text a little bigger. Also, there you go. All right, meta name equals viewport, and then content equals, I think it's width equals device width. I am reading this off a screen, right? I don't have this memorized. I don't think I'll ever have this memorized. Something like this. Okay, cool. We have our ending tag here. And once again, I'll paste this in the chat if it's more convenient there.
Someone already did.
Oh, someone already did. Nice, thank you. And then I'm gonna go ahead and that's good for our head right now. We will have to add the Tailwind script, but let's just go ahead and get our body up first, and then we can go back and do that. Body, and then I'm just gonna put a hello world. We're gonna delete this in a second, so it doesn't matter. Okay, So very basic stuff, right? We just created a blank HTML file with just hello world in it. I'm gonna go ahead and open this file in my browser. So I'm gonna reveal in Finder, I'm gonna drag it over to my Chrome right here. And then we see we have our hello world right here. I'm gonna make that a little bigger as well. Oh, I just realized my mouse, my keyboard capture was off. Sorry about that. It's back on now. I'm also gonna zoom in a little bit on my browser as well. Maybe a tiny little bit. Not too much because I don't wanna make things weird for the CSS, but that should be good. Okay, cool. So, you know, pretty familiar stuff, right? We were just getting our HTML stuff set up. Now let's go ahead and load Tailwind. So I'm gonna go to the Tailwind CSS site. Oh, wait, is this new? I think they just added this yesterday. I feel like this wasn't here on Tuesday. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember there being a quick search here. So I'm gonna go to docs, and then I'm gonna go ahead and go to play CDN. We'll be using these methods once we get more into like Svelte, React, Node, kind of the more like the framework side of things. But for now, since we're just using HTML, we can just go to play CDN right here. And I'm gonna go ahead and copy the script tag. So Command C, and then I'm gonna go ahead and paste that in my head right here. Cool. So I'm gonna paste that. And then now we have Tailwind. So now we have Tailwind on our HTML site. And, you know, we don't need to go through and add the hello world text, but I guess we can maybe copy and paste this text here just to make sure that it's working, right? It's always good to make sure that things are working before we continue. So let's go ahead and paste that here. Let's save it. So one thing actually maybe we should do here also is also introduce Prettier, because, you know, it's nice to have our HTML kind of line up well. Like, as you can see, after I saved, the H1 tags are like not lined up next to each other. So someone, you know, I know people have dropped this in the chat already, so many of you already might have Prettier, but let's go ahead and maybe install the Prettier extension into our editor. That way, every time we save, it'll automatically format our code, because, you know, this is not super convenient. I mean, yeah, we can manually, you know, fix it, but honestly, I'm so used to Prettier in my default setup that it kind of bothers me that it's not auto formatting it. So let's go ahead and remember there's many ways to install extensions. The easy way to do it in VS Code is to do Command Shift P or Control Shift P if you're on Windows, and you can type install extensions, and then you should get this command right here. Click that, and then let's type in Prettier. I think it's, which one is it? Yeah, I think it's this one. There's multiple, but I believe we want this one. Yeah, Prettier, Code Prettier. Yep, so let's go ahead and install this. Okay, so it's saved, or it's installed rather. I'm trying to see if there's anything else we need to do. Okay, so it is nice to set it as a default formatter. You might have to go into your settings and do this, so we might go back if it's not working, but let's go ahead and test it first. So we can test it by going into our HTML. Let me undo my stuff there to make it like not pretty. I'm gonna save it. Oh, it's not working. So either we have to, yeah, we might have to override our default formatter. So let's go ahead and actually copy this line right here. So it's like, yeah, editor, default formatter, and then this snp.prettier, let's copy that. And then we're gonna go into our settings. So once again, there's many ways to open your settings. Easiest way is to do Command Shift P again, and then type in settings. And you want the default settings, but in JSON. Or you want, yeah, I guess default settings should be fine. So, but JSON specifically, not UI. I guess you could use UI too, but it's just easier to do JSON. Wait, actually no, I'm sorry. We don't want the default settings. We want the user settings, I believe. The default settings is just going to give us a huge list of all the VS Code settings, which is a little overwhelming. So actually just maybe go to user settings or workspace settings. I think you could do either, but in this case, I just want to have it on my user. So user settings, there we go. That's a little better. Okay, so a lot shorter, right? And here we can just take that snippet we copied and paste that here. Paste that at the top. So now it's basically saying our default formatter. So the formatter is going to be like on save, it's going to automatically format, and it's going to run prettier. So I'll save that, and hopefully now it works. We might have to restart VS Code. Hoping we don't, but let's try it. Nope, it didn't work. We might have to restart it. Let me go ahead and do Command Shift P. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but restart. Restart to update. All right, let's see if this works. Wait, where'd it go? All right, I have to reopen it. Oh yeah, good point, Jackie. Sometimes it's I have to enable the format on saves. Yeah, I guess I have to do format on save too, as well as the default formatter. I guess the formatter is right now, like the formatter will work if we go into our file and we right click and then we do format document. Yeah, so you see, once we do like right click format document, then it's going to do it for us. But what we actually want is the format on save. So I think what we can do is like, I'm probably wrong here, but it's like, is there editor format on save? Yeah, okay. So I think you could do, if in the settings, in the user settings, you can type in editor.format on save. And by default, it's set to false. And we actually want to change this to true, which is basically going to say when we save, every time we save, we want it to automatically format. Thank you, Jackie. So save this setting and then go back to your HTML. Let's make it kind of ugly again. So let's go ahead and just like space it out. And as you can see, as soon as I save, it makes it look nice. So that's good. Okay, cool. I'll also paste these settings in the chat if you don't want to type this all out. But these are the settings that you can add to your user settings. Cool. All right. Now we have Prettier installed, and now our code will always look nice. So that's good. And that will definitely come in handy here, since we're going to be writing like a larger HTML file. Okay. I do see my cat is approaching. I might have to pause for a second. No. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, so we're going to be building a landing page, and specifically, we're going to build a hero section. Right, a hero section is just like the first thing you see when you go to a landing page. So just an example, Stripe.com. It's like a very popular site for developers. If we go to their website, we can see that this top section right here, it looks pretty fancy, right? There's like this big text, fancy little gradient in the back, some images as to what Stripe does. And this is what we call a hero of a website. It's basically the first thing you see as soon as you go to a website. So if you continue web development, you're going to be building a lot of these heroes, which is why I think it's good for us to kind of do this exercise from scratch. So that's an example of what a hero looks like. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. All right. So let's think about, well, actually, before I close it out, let me go back. Before we close it out, let's just think about the basic structure, right? The hero always has this like nav bar, this like top nav on the top. So we need that first. And then we have like the text and the image. Not all of them look like this, of course, but basically we could think of this hero as two parts, right? We have the nav bar on the top, and then we have the text or the content. So let's focus on those two sections, and let's just start with the navigation for now. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this text we just made. Also, wait, I actually need to test it first. I don't think I actually tested it. So this file is saved. So let's go into our HTML, refresh. Okay, good. So it does work. Our text is big, it's bold, and it's underlined, which is what we've given it for Tailwind classes. So that's good. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and delete this now. So when we create our nav bar, there's we haven't officially talked about semantic HTML yet, but maybe we could talk a little bit about that today. Semantic, go away, cat. Semantic HTML is basically the process of naming your HTML elements things that are human readable, right? For example, you might see the nav, the header HTML tag, or the footer, or the section, or the div, and a common question is like, what is the difference between all of those? The short answer is there's not really that much difference. They all do very similar things. Just the difference is the naming, right? It's if you write your code in a way that as a developer, I go in and look at it and I understand what it means, that's like good code, right? That's what we want to strive for when we write code. Even if your landing page looks extremely beautiful, if you at all plan on, letting a recruiter or like another developer see it, it's definitely not a great look if you have just like very, very messy HTML structure, right? So that's why we do like to have a like nice HTML structure. So maybe for the one thing to do is for our first section, we can call it the header. And in the second part, the content can be a section. So let's go ahead and just start with the header. So let's create our header element. And then for our header element, let's see how best to start this. We can go ahead and maybe just start by adding a nav. So there's also a nav element. Once again, like we can swap these out with divs, and I think they would be basically the exact same, right? If we swap these out with divs. But as you can tell, like, it's not as obvious what this section is going to be if it's just called divs, right? Whereas if it's a header and a nav, well, I think someone can guess that this is it's like the top element, right? It's like a nav bar. So that's one thing to note. Okay, so let's start with our nav. And if we look at Stripe's nav, what we can observe is that, well, one, it's like kind of short, right? It's not that tall of an element. So we can maybe give it like a fixed height, so it's not that tall. There's some items in the center, so we could also consider that. But maybe we'll just start with the header, or just like the height. And what we can also maybe talk about is flex. So flex is a little advanced for CSS. And I am definitely not a CSS expert, so you will have to forgive me if I say something wrong here. But for generally, one thing about writing modern CSS is it's very hard to write CSS in a way that, if you don't use Flexbox, basically it becomes very hard to build very complex sites that are friendly on mobile devices. So we're going to be using a little bit of Flex here. So basically, we can just start out by in our nav, we can just start by giving it a class equals. So let's give it give it the flex class first. So flex is just going to give it the flexbox property. And as we go, maybe we can also like pull up the Tailwind classes just so you can see what the underlying CSS does. So in the Tailwind, actually, I already have a tab here. In the Tailwind documentation, I'm just going to type in flex. And as you can see, yeah, so basically with flex, where's the regular flex class? Oh yeah, flex basis. Wait, no, that's not it. Where's the regular flex class? Oh well. Anyways, I guess they don't have one for regular flex for some reason. That's weird.
You mean display flex?
Or just display flex? Yeah, it's not under documentation for some reason.
Wouldn't it be under display and not flex?
Maybe. Yeah, let me go ahead and... Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. It's a display property. Haha. So basically in CSS, there's like different types of displays. There's block, which are kind of like a div, for example, is a block. So if you basically put two divs next to each other, they're going to go one on top of each other, right? That's the default behavior of block. And next we have inline block. So inline block, as the name implies, it's like block, but it's inline. So if you have two divs that are inline block, they're going to be next to each other rather than on top of each other. And then we have just one called regular inline, and then we have flex. And as you can see, giving it the property flex, or giving it the class flex, gives it the CSS property of display flex. So it's basically a different type of ruling for your CSS. So we'll just start by giving it the class flex, and we can quickly see here what the behavior is going to be once we see it on our HTML. So let's just give our nav a flex, and let's give it like a short height. Let's make it like h9. So h in Tailwind is short for height. And 9, it doesn't necessarily mean 9 pixels. I think it means 9 rem, but we can go into our Tailwind documentation and look it up. So let's go into height. I guess I could just type in height. And we could just scroll down to h9. Yeah. Okay, so it's actually not 9 rem. They just do arbitrary sizing, I guess. But in this case, H9, oops, sorry, what? H9 is 2.25 REM, which is kind of like 36 pixels. So it's kind of short. It's not super tall. So we'll give this H9. And that's probably good for now. We'll just stick with that. Let's maybe start by adding our logo, right? If we go back to the Stripe landing page, we can see that the very first thing is their Stripe logo, right? So maybe we'll start with our logo. And one thing to also notice is that not only this is a logo, but it's a link, right? Like when I mouse over it, we notice that one, the color changes, right? It becomes darker, and my cursor becomes like a pointer, right? This is a cursor pointer, which implies that it's a link. So let's go ahead and start by adding a link. And remember, in HTML, a hyperlink is the A tag. So we do A, and then we need an href. For now, since we don't have other pages, we're just going to do a href of hash, or the, not hash, but social media has ruined me. I don't have, like, I only know that to call this a hash. I know it has another name, but my pound symbol, yes. I don't know why I called it a hash. Okay, but yeah, the pound symbol. And this basically, when we click it, it's not going to change the page. It's going to just stay on the same page. So it's basically just a placeholder link for now, but that's fine. So let's go ahead and add that. And for now, maybe we'll just add we'll just close that off. And then we need some logo. So maybe we can add an emoji as a logo. I don't know. I don't have an immediate logo on hand. So if we want to use a link to an emoji as a logo, there's a lot of ways we can do this. But it's easier if we grab a link to an image of an emoji rather than just like putting an emoji like this, right? This won't render as well because this is technically text, right? This emoji is text. It'll look a lot better if we make it an image instead. So one way to grab an emoji as an image is we can go to Emojipedia or just any site that has emojis. And then I don't know what emoji should we grab here? Maybe we have the, let's see, like a let's just use like the party popper emoji or something. Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, so as you can see, this is an image of the emoji, right? This is not the actual text, this is an image. So we can right click this and then copy the image address, which will give us the link to the image, right? So copy that. And then we're gonna go ahead and add an image tag here. And then we're gonna add a source. So the source is like, it points at like what is the source of the image. And then here is where we're gonna paste our link. So it should get something like that. And then before we close it off, I'm gonna do a new line and then I'm gonna add a class. So I'm gonna add a class here for this image and I'm gonna give it maybe a height of 8, right? Our whole nav bar has a height of 9. So let's give our maybe image like a height of 8 just to start with. And then one other thing to note is that I haven't really talked too much about accessibility, but I think accessibility is still something important to address here. So for those that aren't familiar, accessibility, and some of you probably have seen accessibility controls on your computer, on your phone. Accessibility is really important for those that they look at websites in not a visual way, right? Maybe they use screen readers or some other tools. If they're maybe visually impaired, you know, they can't see images like you and I can as easily. So it's important to have, every time you have an image, if you want your site to be accessible, it's a really good practice to get into the habit of adding an alt. So an alt, this attribute basically will be, if someone looks at our site with a screen reader, or someone goes to our site with a screen reader, the alt is basically a description of what the image is. So it'll read it out to them. So it's a way for them to understand what's going on in the site without having to necessarily see it. So it's just good to get into the habit of adding an alt to image tags. So here, sorry, my cat again, it's being bad. Okay, so the alt here is, this is a party popper emoji. So we can just say party popper logo or something. All right, and let's go ahead and close off this image tag. Let's save this for now, and let's just see what our site looks like, right? I think it's always good to just get into the habit of like typing a little bit of code, saving it, checking out the output and then repeating, right? I don't think, unless you're an expert developer, it's usually not a great idea to just keep typing code like for a really long time and then check to see what your output looks like. So let's go ahead and save this, and let's go ahead and refresh our page. And as you can see, we have our logo, right? And it's a link because we can hover over it and it looks a little different. But as you can see, it's not, it doesn't look great, right? One big thing here is that a lot of sites, especially modern websites, have padding. And padding is basically the space between, you know, the content on your site and then the edges of the web page. So as you can see, we have no padding. And that's why it's stuck all the way up on the left. So if we go look at Stripe, right, we can see that the whole site has padding, right? Like here, the logo, there's some padding to the left, there's some padding from the top, and on the sign in button here, there's also padding to the right, right? And usually, best practices, like for most modern websites, right? This is not true for every site, but it's good to generally have the same amount of of padding on the left to the right, just to make it look like symmetrical. And then you can have some padding on the top as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's add padding to our header. Oops, go away. So one way we could do that is by going to our, we can just go to our header class, the thing that holds our nav, add a class there, and let's add padding to the left and right. So there's many ways you can do this. In Tailwind, I'm going to show you 2 ways, and then I'm going to show you the best way to do it. So the easy way to do it is we could do padding left, which is abbreviated as PL, like that, dash, and then let's say 6. And then, you know, if we want the same padding on the right, we could do PR dash 6. So let's just go ahead and save this and then see what our site looks like now. So I'm going to save it, go to our site and refresh it. And boom. As you can see, we now have some padding on the left. We can't really see the padding on the right as well because, you know, we don't have anything on the right yet. But at least now our site has some padding on the left. And let's also look up the padding documentation on Tailwind. Yeah, and as you can see, there's so many different combinations. But here you can see padding left, yeah, PL0. And what we're looking at is PL6. So let's maybe scroll down there. It's PL6. PL6 is the same thing as padding left equals 1.5 REM. So just a normal amount of padding. But you know, this is a long way of writing this. Whenever you have a situation where you have the same amount of padding on the left and right, you can just do PX instead, right? PX is like padding on the x-axis. It's basically PX is a shorthand. So if we write PX6, it's like the same thing as writing PL6, PR6. So we can actually just shorten this to just be PX6. And if we save that, we can see that it's the same thing, right? We get the same output. Okay, so that's our X padding, right? Our horizontal padding. What about our vertical padding? Well, same thing, right? It's like if we want padding on top and bottom of the site, we can use PY. But in this case, our header, our header is really just by itself. It's not going to take up the full page. So maybe we only need the padding on the top, right? So here, I'm going to do PT for padding top. And then I'm just going to pick a random amount. I'm just going to do 6 again, right? Same amount. So basically, I have padding, padding on the left, padding on the right, and padding on the top. So let's go ahead and save this, refresh, and yay, we have a little bit, something a little bit nicer here. Okay. Cool. So that's nice and all, right? But what if we want to do something a little fancier, right? I know Stripe right now, if you go to Stripe, if you hover over it, it darkens the logo. I mean, we don't have the easy way to do that since the emoji, it's a fixed image. I don't have like a lighter version of the emoji. But there's some fun things you could do with Tailwind on hover, right? Hover, in CSS, doing things on hover is something that's kind of a little tricky, or it can be a pain in the butt sometimes. But Tailwind offers a really easy way to do that. Oops, sorry. So what we can do here is, let's say in Tailwind, you could basically scroll down all the way to the bottom where they have animations. And if you click animation, you get all these classes. So like animate spin animate ping, animate pulse. And one thing you can do is we can add this class onto our logo to make it like stand out a little bit, right? Just for fun, let's just see what happens if we take this animate spin class and put it on our logo. So I'm gonna copy this class, animate spin, and I'm gonna go to our image. I'm gonna slap it onto our image class, so animate spin. I'm gonna save it. Let's go to our website, refresh it. Woohoo! We have a very distracting logo, right? This is probably not, you know, this can be fun, but let's say we actually just want this thing to happen on hover, right? We only want this to happen on hover. Right now it's just hover, it's just spinning by itself, and maybe we don't want that. So I'll show you a really cool way that Tailwind does this. All we need to do is just type in the word hover and then colon in front of whatever class we want. And this is basically saying on hover, do this or add this class. So we can just save this, refresh, and boom. It's nothing's happening right now, but as soon as we hover, whoa, it starts spinning. Cool, right? Pretty fun. And just, you know, there's so many more crazy things you can do here. I just picked a random animation, but you can scroll through here to see all of them. Just like, you know, there's ping, which has this little ping, good for like notifications maybe. We did spin already. You have pulse, which makes it like kind of pulse darker and lighter. Bounce. I personally like bounce a lot. Bounce is pretty fun. Maybe we can swap it out with a bounce. So I changed this to hover, animate bounce. And then we go to our logo. Oops, I didn't refresh. Let me refresh. There we go. And it starts bouncing. Yeah, pretty fun, right? It's pretty distracting, but also you can do a lot of cool things like that in your site to make it stand out. Anywho, we had enough fun with the logo here. Let's move on to the rest of the nav bar. So yeah, we did the logo, and then if we go back to the Stripe landing page, let's tackle this section next. I mean, we're gonna not make, you know, their drop down thing is obviously pretty fancy, and I don't think I could do this all in one session. But instead, let's just have this list of links out here. So, I'm gonna pull up the website. To do this, let's go ahead and add another section to our site, right? We have our A tag, but we really, if you think about it, we want the logo to stay on the left, but then we want the links to go to the right? So one thing we can do is let's first put our A tag in a div, and let's give this div some flex properties. So let's go ahead and add a div that surrounds the nav. So I'm just gonna do this, add the nav, yep. Or actually, wait, sorry, I put it in the wrong place. I'm actually gonna put the div inside the nav, and I'm gonna wrap it around the link, because the nav is gonna be the whole nav bar section for us. And what we actually want is to wrap it around the link. So I'm gonna go with that. Add a div and tag, cool. All right, so now we have a div. And then we're gonna go ahead and just add the class flex. And what we could do maybe is, another thing is you can add special styles on a large screen sizes. So for example, on a computer, that's like a large screen size, right? A tablet, that's like a medium screen size, and a phone is a small screen size. So you can actually easily write rules in Tailwind and change those classes depending on what device you're on. But we'll get into in a second. Let's just add the flex for now, and we'll come back to this in a second once we add our links. Okay. So next up, so right now we have our header, which is made up of our nav, which is made up of our logo. So this div right here is our logo. So I'm gonna go ahead and minimize this just to get that out of the way a little bit. Okay, cool. So now we're gonna do our links, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and create a new div for our links. And we're also gonna give this a class flex. And then we're gonna start with our, maybe we just add, there's many ways to do links here. Maybe we can go ahead and just add them as A tags, right? They're basically like you hovered over them and they take you to different sites. So let's go ahead and add a tag here. Once again, we just use a filler href. It doesn't really matter here. And let's add a class. And let's say we want to make the font a little bit bold, like kind of bold. As you can see, if we look at Stripe's website, like this is their regular text. And it's kind of hard to see here, but this is like their regular text. It's not that wide. But this text up here is a little bit more bold. It's not bold. It's not like as bold as this text, but it's like in between. So we can call it semi-bold. So in Tailwind, you can use the semi-bold font by doing font dash semi-bold. And then let's also give it a color. So let's make it, by default, it's going to be black, but instead let's have it be gray, like a really dark gray, which I guess is very similar to black. So we can do text gray dash 900 for a pretty dark text. Actually, maybe let's have it 800. Yeah, let's have it 800. And what we can do is on hover, we can have it look a little lighter. Actually, no, I changed my mind. Let's have it be 900, but on hover, let's make it have a darkness of 800. So you know, that way when you hover over it, it's clear that you're over the link. So once again, we can do this very easily by just typing in hover colon text gray 800. And I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And then let's see, the first thing that shows, you know, just for fun, I'm just going to use the same like links they have here. So first up is products. So I'm just going to type in products. And then let's go ahead and just like copy and paste this like twice. So copy and paste, copy and paste. And I'm just going to add solutions, which is the second one. And then developer, or just for fun, I'm just going to make it pricing instead. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and save this and see what this looks like. Our link section. So I'm going to save that. And I'm going to go back to our web page, refresh it. Uh-oh, doesn't look that great, right? And this is because we didn't add any like spacing in between these sections, right? They're all kind of like stuck together. One thing we could do really quickly is maybe we can try centering all of the items. So in the nav class, so right here, we can try adding a class that will center everything in the middle horizontally. So what we can do is do items dash center. So let's refresh the page to see if that makes any difference. Okay, that centers it vertically, so everything is kind of like lined up a little better, right? If I take this away, and we see the difference. Yeah, see, without it, like, it's kind of aligned to the top, right? Or like the logo and the links are stuck to the top. But if we add items center, oops, wrong thing. If we add items center to the nav, things are brought down and made a little bit more. Yeah, they're lined up a little better, so that's nice. And then we can maybe try a justify between. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna go into the documentation, type in justify between. Oops, can't spell. Justify content. Okay, so here they have examples, right? So justify content, it controls how flex items are positioned along a main axis. Fancy talk for basically it determines like how things are going to be like set up here. So if we have justify start, you know, this is good if we want all the items stuck to the left of the container. Justify center if you want to like, you know, horizontally center the items, and justify end to stick them at the end. But this looks like what we want, right? This structure looks a lot more like Stripe's navbar than any of these other ones. So that's why I'm going to use justify between. So basically, if we want the official definition, use justify between to justify items along the container's main axis so that there's an equal amount of space between each item, which sounds like what we want, right? So I'm going to go ahead and type in justify between. And one thing to note is that, remember, we can only use justify between and item center if we're using flex, right? This is why we use flex. If we just had block or like the default display, we wouldn't be allowed to use these classes or these CSS rules. So that's why we use flex. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And let's check out what this looks like now. Well, it doesn't look that great, right? But remember, we only have two items, right? We only have the logo and then the links. So it's actually doing exactly what it's supposed to, right? It's basically just evenly distributing the items. But if we had a third item, I guess we can just quickly add a third item right here. Let me just do like a button for now. Just be like, say sign in. Well, we'll style the button in a second. But let's just go ahead and save this. Refresh. And as you can see, now our structure looks a lot more like stripes, right? So that's what justified between does, right? If you have 3 items, then it's going to equally put spacing between the 3. If you have 2 items, it's going to, you know, space out, like put one on the left, one all the way on the right, so forth. So now we're starting to have something that looks a little bit more like Stripes landing page. So that's nice. Okay, cool. So it's coming along, right? And let's also test our hover. It's kind of hard to see. You can't really see it that well. Maybe I'll make it. Maybe I'll make it a little like lighter. Like maybe make the hover state hover gray 700. Maybe we can also say on hover we put an underline under it, right? That'll make it even more obvious that it's something else. So we can do hover underline, and we can just copy and paste this and put this on the other 2. Okay. Okay, but we also see a big problem, which is that all of our links are stuck together, right? Clearly, we don't want that. This is kind of hard to read. So another thing you can do in Flex and Grid, which is really useful, is called gap. And gap is probably one of my favorite properties just because of how convenient it is. So let's take a look at gap in the Tailwind documentation. So I'm going to type in gap. So gap basically adds gutters between Grid and Flexbox items. So, excuse me. In this example, they're using Grid, but it's similar if you have Flex. If you have gap 4, it puts an equal amount of spacing between each item. You see that? So if we take a look at what gap 4 actually means, it basically adds this gap property called gap and sets it to 1 REM. And once again, we can see that we can control it, right? If we only want gap to the left and right, like the horizontal axis, we can just use gap X. And if we want just gap like between top and bottom, we can use gap Y. Right, in this case, because we just have a straight line, we only need gap X, right? But we could use regular gap. It doesn't really matter in this case. But let's just, you know, to be more explicit, let's use a gap X. So what we're going to do, and we have to do this on the Flex, right? We can only do this in Flexbox. So here in our link section, in our div, I'm going to go ahead and add a gap X. And let's just start with adding maybe gap X6, right? We can play around with these numbers just to see what it looks like. I'm going to add a gap X6. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Go ahead and refresh. Okay, it's not bad, right? It's decent. And as you can see now, our hover is looking a little better. You can kind of tell the text is getting lighter, not super well. It might be my night shift settings that's making it a lot unclear. But you can always have the color change as well if you really want to make it a little bit more obvious. But at least you can see the underline going on. Also don't like how the underline's so close to the text, right? Maybe I want to push the underline down a little bit more. We can also control that as well. So if I go to the documentation, type in underline, we get something called underline offset, right? So underline offset determines how far down the underline goes. So here we have some examples, right? With just a 1, it's like pretty close to the text. And with 8, it's like really far below. 4 maybe looks pretty good, right? 4 looks a little bit more like what we want. So I'm going to go ahead in our code right here, and I'm going to add a hover. Well, actually, I guess it doesn't matter if it's hover or not, because this rule is only going to apply once it has the underline state. So we can just go ahead and type underline offset 4. And let's go ahead and copy this and just put it on our other classes or our other links. Let's go ahead and save that. Refresh. Well, let's look at it before and after. So this is before, right? After. Noticeable difference, right? I mean, not super noticeable, but you can definitely see that it's more under. Okay, not bad, right? Decent. It's coming along decently. We have our kind of spazzy logo here, or spazzy logo. Yeah, that's the problem with the hover bounce, I think. Basically, it's like it's too close. It keeps wavering in between hover states or not hover. So maybe instead of maybe I'll change that to be instead of a bounce, we'll just go back to the spin. I think it's a little less buggy. Okay. There you go. That's a little better. Okay, cool. So hopefully we're chugging along decently. We're almost done with this header part. Let's go ahead and get to the logo. So in this case, our logo, we already have this button at the end. Let's say we want to make it look like this stripe button, right? Which is kind of transparent, which I guess is going to be kind of hard to do with a white background, but we can still try it. And it's very rounded, right? So let's go ahead and go to our button. And let's go ahead and give it a class. And let's make the background light gray, right? I mean, this stripe button is a little light gray, so let's maybe make it like a... Well, I guess it only works for them because I guess for us, it's not going to be super clear if we use like a transparent, like that background. Let's actually just make it a black button, like a black button, but rounded. So basically, let's make it more look like this button right here. So background gray 900 would give it like a pretty dark background. And we want to give it a text white, right? We want the text to be white, so we just type in text white. Or you could do text gray 50 or text gray 100. You know, you can play around with the differences, but for now I'm just going to use the white text. And then to get something to be super rounded like this, we can use the rounded property. And there's just different levels of the rounded property. So if we just put just rounded like this, let's save this and see what it looks like. I might have to put a border too. I forgot, but let's refresh. Okay, so immediately we see that it doesn't look that great, right? It's slightly rounded, as you can see. But remember, we need padding, right? In HTML and just in design, like things don't look very good if you don't have padding. So what we're going to do is, once again, we're going to add padding to the left, or sorry, we're going to add padding to the x-axis, and then we're also going to add some padding to the y-axis. So I'm going to go ahead and just play around here and try to add maybe like px3. So, 3 Tailwind units of padding to the left and right. And I'm going to maybe add 2 Tailwind padding units to top and bottom. So px3, py2. Let's see what this looks like. So let's save this, refresh the page. That's a little better, right? It looks a little better, but it's not quite the roundness we're looking for, right? If we're going for the same button style as stripe, this is kind of rectangle-ish. You can see the corners are a little rounded, but it's not the rounded that we want. Well, what we can do to get the full rounding is, well, easiest way is to just look at the Tailwind's documentation. So I'm going to type in rounded, and then we see border radius, which is what we want. And as you can see, it shows you the different levels of roundedness, right? Rounded large gives you a lot more rounding, and then rounding full basically gives you something that looks like this. And this looks like stripes button, right? This is kind of what we want. So rounded, I'm going to change this rounded to rounded full. Save this. Let's go back to our website. Oopsies. There we go. It's not bad, right? Maybe we can add a little bit more X padding or make the text a little smaller. But, it's a decent start. Let's go ahead and maybe add like one more unit of X padding, so px4. And let's make the text a little smaller. So by default, everything is like medium text level. But if you want small text, you could do text -sm, which will give you small text. So let's save that. And let's also make the font maybe bold, right? It's kind of bold. It's kind of semi-boldish. So maybe, yeah, we'll just do small text and let's add the font semi-bold. Save that. Refresh. That looks a lot better, right? There we go. Now we're talking. That looks like a lot more like a professional looking button. And yeah, that's like a decent start to our navbar. We can always make more improvements, but this is like a very, very basic overview of kind of putting this stuff together from scratch. So as you can see, there's a lot that's going on. And even when we're doing this process, I was like constantly checking the Tailwind documentation, and that's like a pretty realistic flow, right? Okay, cool. How much time do we have? All right, we got a little time left. Let's see if we can add this main content and get to there. Okay, so I'm gonna minimize all the stuff we just created. And remember, our hero is made up of 2 sections, right? The header, and let's call the second part of our hero the main. So I'm gonna type a main class, or a main element. And remember, this is just semantic, right? We wanna make it so that even if a developer hasn't seen our code before, if they just look in, it should be very clear that this is the header of the page and then this is the main section of the hero. Okay. So what we can do with our CSS layout maybe is, let's say we want a split page layout, right? So if we look at Stripe, maybe this Stripe's a decent example. You see we have like text and then the button on the left, right? Two sections, text and button on the left, and then we have the image on the right, right? This is a pretty common layout. This is what we call like a 2-column layout, right? It's one column right here and then one column right here. So let's try to do something similar here. So a 2-column layout. Okay. So in our main, let's go ahead and just add a div. Let's go ahead and just add a div into this main. And we're going to give this div a full width, right? We want this div to have like, this div we're gonna build is going to contain both of our columns, right? It's going to be the container for both columns. So we're going to give it a full width, right? We want it to be the full width of the page. So if we look at what width W full means, let's look at the documentation. We can see that, well, let's see, let's scroll down here. Where is it? Okay, yeah, W full. So this is the same thing as CSS writing width 100%, right? It gives you a full width. So that's kind of what we want. So we want to span the whole page. And once again, we're going to use flex. So let's add flex. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and now create our 2 columns. So I'm going to do column 1. So I'm just going to make one div. And to do column 1, we can have this div be 1/2 the page, like if we want a 50-50 split. But in Stripe's case, it looks like they have something more of like, I don't know, what is, if I were to guesstimate, this is like a 60-40 split, right? This side of the page is like 60%, this side is like 40%, something like that, right? It's like not too far off to say. So what we can do is, well, maybe we just start with 50-50 because that's easiest and then like expand from there. But if we want a 50-50 split, what we need to do for these 2 divs is we need to give them each a width of 50%, right? Remember, our whole width is 100%. So, divide that by 2 and you get 50%. So what we can do is do class equals width 1/2 width -1/2, which is basically the same thing as saying width 1/2. And for now, I'll just put some text here so we know what's going on. Hello. Or maybe I'll give it a background. Or, yeah, hello. And then for the second column, I'm going to do another div with the width 1/2. And then, we're going to have an image here, but we'll just put some placeholder text for now so we can see what this looks like. Okay, let's go ahead and save this. Let's go back to our web page. And then we see we have this 2-column layout going on. It's not super clear because it's like right up next to our nav bar, but you see we have like, this is about 50-50, right? This is like the 50-50 split of the page, and we have 1 column here and 1 column here. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and make this look a lot better, right? This doesn't look super great. What we can do is maybe we can add, well, first we want to add padding, right? Remember, Remember our text is like right up next to the edges of the page, which is not that great looking. Sorry, my thing's kind of messing up. There we go. It's right up next to the page, so it's not ideal aesthetically. So what we can do is, oopsies, we can go ahead and add padding to to this element. So let's maybe add padding on the left and right. Let's give it like, typically it's also good to have it consistent with the other parts of the page, right? So because our header has px6, let's go ahead and just add px6 here to make it consistent. Oops, sorry, I keep clicking the wrong icon. px6, and let's also give it some vertical padding as well, right? We don't want our main section to be right up next to the nav bar. So let's maybe give it a py of like, I don't know. Let's give it a lot. Let's make it like let's push it down a lot. Let's give it like a py of 24. And one might ask like, well, how do you know what values are allowed here? Like, can I just put like 13 or whatever? Some of the values aren't going to work. And typically the rule of thumb is, I think most of the multiples of anything that's divisible by 3 up to a certain point is allowed. But really, you'll probably want to consult the documentation to see the full list. So if you just go to like width, for example, you can see that's like, here are all the allowed values, right? It's like 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, so forth, so forth. So you actually do get all these things allowed up to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then, you know, it skips 15 and it goes to 16 and then 20 and then 24 and then 28. So it's kind of, it is, okay, maybe I lied about the divisible by 3. Clearly that's not true. But basically you kind of get used to, actually it's more like divisible by 4. I think I misspoke. Basically like up to a certain point, it just becomes like units of 4 that are allowed. But once again, I encourage you to check the documentation because, you know, that rule only applies to like some of these numbers. Cool. So let's go ahead and add that padding. And before we visualize our text scan, let's go ahead and add more text to our left section, right? So we want something that looks like this. So we want really big text on the left. So let's try that. So in our first column, right, this is our first column. I'm going to go ahead and put like an H1. This is our main text, right? This is what this is what we want to like really be clear on the page. Let's go ahead and add main text, and then let's add a class. And to have really big text, you can do text dash XL. But if you want it to be really, really big, you can go all the way up to like 7XL, right? Which is like XXXXXXL, essentially. Let's just for fun, let's just see what this looks like. So let's say we're building a landing page. I don't know. Let's say we're saying let's build like a counter to Stripe. Let's say we're building like a Ponzi scheme as a service. So Ponzi schemes for everyone or something. And let's make this text like really bold, like so font dash bold. I don't know. Let's make it like yeah. Let's just start here and see where it goes. So Ponzi schemes for everyone. Also, I highly recommend nobody create this actual service. But if you do, let me know. All right, I'm going to save this and we'll refresh the page. All right, pretty nice, right? We get our nice little, you know, text. Ponzi schemes for everyone. It's a little too big. Maybe I'll shrink it down a little bit to like 5XL. And then maybe I'll put some text under the header. So I'm going to put a P tag or something. And maybe I can say like, I don't know, millions of companies get conned into using our amazing service. It's not illegal because we're straight up telling you it's a scam. That's how it works, right? All right, cool. I pasted that there. And then let's go ahead and maybe make our smaller text a little, let's make it not as like dark. Let's make it like a little lighter. So like text gray, 600. And then, yeah, let's see how that looks. And maybe we want to like space it out. Like let's say we want to push this smaller text a little under our main text. So like, let's give it some padding on the top. So PT, maybe like PT6 or something. All right, let's save it, refresh it. That's not bad. I actually kind of preferred the big text. So let's go back to maybe let's meet in the middle. Let's do 6XL. Beautiful. Beautiful. Our amazing product is starting to come off the ground. So Ponzi schemes for everyone. Hooray. Okay, nice. We're almost done here. We could add a button, but you know, we spent some time on a button up here. So I'm actually just going to cut right to the chase and get to the image. So let's end by adding a large image to the right. Just kind of like similar how Stripe does it, right? They have this like image here. So let's go ahead and add an image. Maybe we can do, we can go to Unsplash. I don't know, what should we grab an image of? I don't think any of the things going to be show up if you search a Ponzi, but let's just see. Nope. Maybe a pyramid, like a pyramid scheme. Oh wait, no, this is perfect. Yes. This is what we want, except for the stock photo. No, they all have stock photos. Taking money. None of these are Ponzi enough. Okay, this is kind of Ponzi enough, so we'll just take this. So I'm gonna grab this image. I'm gonna copy the image address, right, similar to how we did with the logo. So I'm gonna grab that image, and then down here, I'm going to go ahead and add our image in our second column, right? So img source equals, I'm going to paste that thing we just copied. Close it off. Remember to add an alt when you can. It's helpful for accessibility. So I'm going to say a person counting their money. And then let's also give it a width. So we want this to be pretty big, right? Oh, thank you for the bits. Sorry, I missed that. I haven't been great at checking chat this session. So let's make this like pretty big. This image, right? Maybe we can give it like a width of, I don't know, what's a good, maybe we do, I'm trying to think what's a good like spacing. Let's give it like a width of, I don't know, 96. Actually, it's probably better to give it a height of 96 first. Let's see, let's make the width auto. Because it's an image, right? We want like, if we have the width something else, then it might like, you know, distort the image and squish it a little bit. So let's give it a lot of height. Let's give it an auto width and just see what happens. So I'm gonna save that. Go to my landing page. Refresh. Booyah. All right, tell me you would not buy from this service. Sorry, this looks professional. This is like super professional. Like a small critiques I have is like, you know, the text and the image are kind of close together, which, you know, we can fix that, right? Remember we have gap, right? We can in any container that we have flex, we can add gap. So gap x, and let's do like gap x, I don't know, 6 or 12, make it a little bigger. Save that. Boom. As you can see, now we have a little better padding. And just for fun, let's also make this everyone text like a different color, right? Well, let's say we want everyone to be emphasized because this is Ponzi schemes for everyone. So what we can do is here, we can go ahead and just like add a span, and a span is just an inline piece of text, right? Let's add a span around the word everyone like this. Grab that. All right, save this, make it a little easier to see. And then what we're gonna do is let's add an underline under this. So let's add an underline. Let's give it an offset as well. So I underline offset, I think. What was it again? I forgot. I gotta look it up. I gotta look at our old links to remember what that looked like. It's like underline offset. Yeah, cool. Underline offset. So underline offset 4. Just to keep it consistent. And let's give it a color. Let's say we want it to be, I don't know, green, right? Green's the color of money. But to be fancy, I like Tailwind's emerald color. So I can just do text dash emerald dash, let's do like 600, right? That's like kind of vibrant, but not too dark. Save that. Boom. Ponzi schemes for everyone. Incredible. Okay, cool. That's probably all we have time for today. We didn't get too much into the mobile, but let's just for fun, let's see what the site looks like on mobile. Probably not great because we didn't optimize it, but maybe we can spend the last minutes of today's session making it look, you know, not terrible on mobile. Okay, so here I have it opened in our dev tools, and as you can see, it looks pretty terrible, right? Everything's like squished together, so that's not great. Maybe what we can do is, so for the header, right? It's probably fine to keep the sign-in button, and it's probably fine to keep the logo, but let's say we just want to hide these links on mobile, right? You know, you see for a lot of mobile sites, they have like the hamburger menu, you know what I'm talking about? Like the little like drop-down menu. That's a little too complex to implement today, especially without JavaScript. So we're just gonna straight up hide the links on mobile, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. So let's go ahead and minimize our body, just so we can zoom in on our mobile. Sorry, zoom in on our header. And what we could do is we can basically, so I want to introduce you to a new class, and this class is basically another display type, and this display type is called hidden. So let's go back to the Tailwind documentation, look at display, display, and I want you to check out down here at the bottom, it says hidden, right, which basically says display none. So basically just hides it from the page. So what we can do is we can say on mobile devices, so by default, these links are hidden. So we can type in hidden. But we only want the display to be flexed. Like we only want the links to be visible on, let's say, like tablet and above, right? So how will we do that? in CSS, you have to write media queries and you have to know the exact screen size, and it's a pain in the butt, let me tell you. But in Tailwind, we only need to write one thing, which is for tablet devices, right? Tablet devices in this case are considered medium-sized screens. We just type MD:, and this is basically saying on a medium-sized screen and above, like a medium-sized screen and above, change the display from hidden to flex is basically what this is saying right here. So let's save this, refresh our page. Boom, looks a lot better, right? Or at least the header, right? This stuff is still kind of screwed up, but as you can see, our site is a lot more mobile friendly just with that one simple rule. So pretty nifty. And just to make sure this works well, let's just truly test to see what it looks like on a tablet device. So I'm gonna switch to the device type to like iPad Air, I guess. I don't know, iPad Air. Yeah, it's not bad, right? It's like it's the iPad Air screen size is big enough to accommodate it, so this totally works. Cool, nice stuff. All right, I'm gonna go back to the iPhone, and now we have to deal with the second problem, which is our two column layout. Two column layouts don't usually work that well on mobile, as you can see here. It just kind of squishes together, and we don't really want that. So what we can do is we can keep our two column layout on like tablet devices and above, but on a mobile device, let's just have them stack on top of each other, right? Let's have this image come down on the bottom, and let's keep our text up at the top, right? That would make it look a lot better. So let's go ahead and expand our body again, or our main, and take a look at how to do that. So remember, right now we're saying on any device, the width is going to be 50%, right? But based on what we just discussed, what we actually want is on medium-sized devices, we want it to be 50%. So what if we do this? What if we do medium size with 1/2, medium size with 1/2, and otherwise, on mobile devices, I'm just going to have it to be width full. So I'm basically saying on mobile, have it be 100% of the width, and on desktop or on tablet and above, let's have it be half size. Let's see if this works. I think this should work, but we got to try it first. So I'm going to save this, refresh the page. Okay, that didn't work. I guess because like this stuff needs to be changed first. I think this flex, because, okay, I know it's not working. But flex by default will stack things next to each other. Like it's similar to inline in that regard, but it's not exactly like inline. But what we actually want is on mobile, we want it to be block. We want the display to be block. And then on tablet devices, that's when we want it to be flex, or tablet or above. So let's modify our statement here. So I'm gonna type in block. And one thing you'll notice is that without the MD modifier, like here, this is the style that I think is best practice, which is just like without any kind of modifier like that, this is how it's gonna look on mobile. And then for like larger devices, then you specify what rule you want. So in this case, on medium devices or above, I want it to be flex. Maybe I can also, I probably don't want the gap either on block, but I think I can keep it because I don't think it's gonna work for block. Let's go ahead and save that. Refresh it. Boom. Ponzi schemes for everyone. There's still some issues here. As you can see, like, this text is super close to the image. So we basically want to add some padding, right? We want to space these things out a little bit better. So once again, we only want the spacing on mobile, right? It doesn't make sense to have this spacing on desktop. So what we could do is on mobile, or like on, just on mobile devices, we can have maybe like padding 6. Save that. Refresh. Okay, that's a little better. But remember, we want to reset this. We don't want any padding on this top on tablet or above. So I'm going to do MD PT 0, right? This is basically going to say on tablet devices or above, remove that top padding. Cool. So as you can see now, our site is like somewhat responsive, right? It's a little better. So it looks decent on mobile. It looks decent on tablet. Yeah, not bad, right? It's still pretty decent. And it looks decent on desktop. Yay. Cool. There's a lot of other things we could do to play around with this, but this is like the basic idea here. Just for fun, we got to make this text like do crazy things. one thing maybe we could do is like, actually one fun thing is there are Tailwind gradients. So you can type in Tailwind gradient, And I really like this color, hypercolor. Yeah, I'll send this link in the chat, hypercolor.dev. If you do want to add like colorful gradients, you can use this site to just grab whatever pattern you want. So right now our text is, our everyone text is just a regular shade of emerald, but let's have it look a little fancy. Let's have it, I don't know, what's a good color to grab? What is something that makes you think Ponzi? This is greenish, but I want something a little crazier. Let's just grab this, Ocean Egg. I don't know how great this is gonna look. Actually, no, I changed my mind. Let's do this one. Okay, so on this site, you can go ahead and just copy the Tailwind class. I think this button gives you the Tailwind class. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure this gives you the Tailwind class. So click this. And then where it says text emerald, let's go ahead and delete that. And paste our, wait, I think this only works for backgrounds. But there's a way to do it for text too. Let me see, background, gradient, text, Tailwind. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, yeah, you can do it with background clip text. So it's basically two things. You have to copy and paste that gradient. So I pasted it here, and then we can also add this background clip text, which will basically take the background of the gradient and put it on the text instead. This is fancy stuff. This is not really like necessary, but this is just if you do want to make your site pop a little bit more. Let's go ahead and save that. Oh, it didn't work. All right, never mind. I'm not gonna bother with debugging it because it is a little we are kind of running up on time. But I'm probably missing some classes here that I didn't quite get. Oh yeah, I need the transparent text. That's why I need the text to be transparent, and then I have the BG clip text. Yeah. Okay. Let's add this and see if this works. All right. Let's save that. Refresh. There we go. Ponzi schemes for everyone. We did get rid of the underline. Unfortunately, the underline has to be given up because of the BG clip text. But honestly, it looks better without it, I think. There you go. And just for fun, let's just have it pulse on hover. Why not? Animate pulse on hover. Does that even work? Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah. On hover, it's pulsing. I don't know. This is not necessary. This is just to show you kind of like the fun things you can do with Tailwind. But yeah, that's basically it for our project. Let's go ahead and just go back to the slides. Hopefully that was kind of fun. This is also a fun exercise for myself, just to remember how much Tailwind I could do off the bat. Clearly I needed a lot of help with the documentation, but that's totally normal. At least I hope it's normal. Cool. So the homework is I want you to try to recreate your link in bio page from scratch, but this time using Tailwind, right? I think this will be actually a good exercise for us to consolidate the what we did with just HTML, CSS, and then doing it in Tailwind and just comparing the differences, right? How did it feel? Did it feel a lot easier? Did it feel harder? And I want you to also try to add things like hover states, animations, textiles, like some of the things that we played around with today in the demo. I want you to try to incorporate those into your link in bio site to see if that can make it pop a little bit more. And then, as mentioned, we're going to be going into JavaScript next week. So it's a big week next week. I don't want to say it's going to be like super fast paced, but JavaScript is the main part of this curriculum. So I'm really excited to dive into that with everyone. And just as you don't have to do anything JavaScript related yet, because we're going to cover all that next week. But if you do want to kind of get yourself acclimated, feel free to watch this video by Fireship that I attached here, which is basically a 100-second intro video to JavaScript, which basically just gives you the high level idea. But that is basically it. Does anybody have any questions? Anything that I maybe didn't cover? I'm going to go through the chat as well because I didn't do a great job of reading it as I went. But yeah, hopefully that was fun. I don't know if maybe I went a little fast for people to catch up, but hopefully that was fun to kind of see something get put together with Tailwind. Of course, it's still very overwhelming. I don't expect, even though we're ending our Tailwind module, like I don't expect anyone to be an expert in Tailwind, but at least we'll have the foundations so that with JavaScript, with Svelte, with React, we're going to be starting to build a lot of more advanced projects. And your knowledge of Tailwind, I think, will come in handy because you can make your apps and websites pop a little bit more, which will be really great for recruiters and stuff. So someone asked, do you cover data structures and algorithms as well? Yes. So let me go ahead and pull up the Notion really quick. Actually, do I have it? I'm going to run ! Notion. I got to get the link myself. Huh? All right. Let me grab my link. Oopsies. So basically, just to give you a visual idea of when we're going to do data structures and algorithms, well, we're going to actually start talking about a little bit about it when we do a little bit of JavaScript. We're going to do a little bit of like kind of Lego problems, like very easy ones. But really, a lot of the data structure algorithm specific lectures are going to be in this module, the career prep. So definitely towards the end, right? Because data structures and algorithms are very helpful, but our focus is just like building really complex applications just as soon as possible. And then after that, in order to pass the technical interviews, then a lot of focus is going to shift to like, technical interviews, data structures and algorithms, stuff like that. Oh, no worries. Yeah, I think I honestly went pretty fast on the coding here, so no worries. I'll go ahead and share it in the Discord, just because it's probably I think it's gonna blow up the Twitch chat if I paste all of this in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and share that now. I'll just share it in general, I guess. Yeah. Or yeah, just general is fine. Here's the code. Wait, how do you format code in Discord? I need to upload a file. All right. Actually, I'm just gonna upload the file itself. It's probably easier. Let me try that. Upload. Projects, bootcamp projects, Tailwind landing. There we go. All right. Let's see if that works. Cool. I just pasted it. Oh, you can use backticks. Gotcha. Does that work for even large snippets? It probably does. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I'll just use backticks next time. That'll be easier. But cool. I just posted in general. I'm gonna edit my message too and say the code from our project today. All right. Cool. Oh, gotcha. Cool. Someone asked, is there any way to have Tailwind permanently on VS Code instead of always having to play thingy? So not the answer. The short answer is not really. Like every time you create a blank HTML site from scratch, you are gonna have to use Tailwind like this. When we get into JavaScript, you're no longer going to be having to use this Tailwind script, but we are still going to have to install Tailwind. You're still going to have to like run. I don't want to get into too complex stuff, but you're gonna have to run like commands to install the Tailwind package. So basically every project that you want to use Tailwind, you have to include the script in some way. It's just with HTML, this comes in the form of the play script, like the CDN. But in more advanced projects, we're going to be installing it a different way. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, definitely. Hopefully I didn't, I did go through positioning and sizing super deep, but hopefully it does give you a good idea, or like slightly of a good idea of how some of that is being done. Yes, for sure. I'm all about getting more Tailwind converts. My girlfriend Jackie does not like Tailwind, and a lot of, I get it, right? the classes look it can get very messy, especially with a very big app. But I think when you're getting started, it's like a good way of just understanding like the basics of CSS, and also your sites can look nice, and you can do funny things like the spinning state. Honestly, this is my favorite part of Tailwind, the spinning and the animating and stuff. It's pretty fun. All right, cool, y'all. Yeah, sorry for showing up a little bit late. I'll do a better job of time management next time. But yeah, so next Tuesday is gonna be JavaScript, or like an intro to JavaScript. We're gonna just jump right into it. It's I don't want to say it's gonna be super hard, but it is gonna start to ramp up. But at the same time, it's gonna be rewarding, I think, because the projects you're gonna be able to make are gonna be so much more complex. So it's gonna be fun. Oh yeah, and do watch the video first. I can also share it in the chat too. It's a really quick video. I like Fireship's like 100-second intros. They're like pretty humorous, but also pretty quick. Does Bootstrap not have animations? Does anybody know? I actually don't. It's been so long since I used Bootstrap. I gave up Bootstrap once I did Tailwind. I feel like they probably do. Okay, they have it in Bootstrap 5. What the heck is Bootstrap 5? I didn't even know Bootstrap 5 is a thing. I think they do. It looks like they have these. I don't know. Do they have a spin? They don't have a spin. It's But it looks like they have some animations, but I'm not sure what Bootstrap 5 is because I'm pretty sure Bootstrap 4 is the latest version, right? Maybe it just came out. Anyways, I guess the answer is yes. And I guess Bootstrap does have its own animations, but yeah. Playground, yes, the app will be available. Sorry, I wanted to roll it out yesterday, but we made a couple changes to the core curriculum, and I was worried that if I gave too many people the app right now, I didn't want them to have to lose all their progress as I kind of reset the database and everything. But yes, it's going to be launched very, very soon. I'll be probably talking to people in the Discord this as early as this weekend, maybe Monday, just to like get some early eyes on it. So yeah, if you're interested, definitely keep an eye out. But yes, I am I'm going to be doing everything in my power to have it officially ready by then. So okay, I didn't know that. Oh wow, yeah, because on Bootstrap's site, they still talk about Bootstrap 4, right? Oh no, you're right. It is Bootstrap 5. Yeah, I guess I'm just so behind with Bootstrap that I haven't kept up. Honestly, I encourage you to like check out Bootstrap. I think it's still like worth checking out. But if you have like Tailwind components and you're used to Tailwind, then I just feel like your sites will look a little nicer with Tailwind. But I'm biased. Our class is permanently 1 hour ahead. Are they? Well, I think. Oh, daylight savings. Yeah. Sorry, I kind of forgot about daylight savings. Yeah, that's a good. For daylight savings suggested, it's still 4:30 p.m. EST, but I can see how that's a little bit confusing. Yeah, for daylight savings. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I could. I'm happy to push it back down 1 hour, but I think for now I'm still gonna keep it at the 4:30 EST time. But it's but daylight savings. So I guess it's EDT, right, instead of EST. I don't know. Wait, what? I did not know that. Whoa. Dude, this daylight savings makes no sense at all. It's breaking my brain. But wow, that's I learned something today. Yeah, literally living in the future. That's funny. So Chocolate Milk Bear asked, can you use both at the same time? Yeah, you can definitely use Bootstrap and Tailwind at the same time. Maybe we'll just say like it's kind of unnecessary to use the both at the same time. And it'll also probably make your UI look a little weird, right? I think it's good to use Bootstrap if you commit to only using Bootstrap because everything will like look very consistent in the same style. And if you use the Tailwind style and the Bootstrap style, I mean, you can definitely make it work. Like you can definitely use both, and you're welcome to try it out. But I just find it easier to just kind of use one UI library per project. All right. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I missed? Yeah. So, Playground app coming out soon. Keep an eye out for that. Prepare for JavaScript week. And yeah, just feel free to keep messing around with Tailwind. I'm actually talking to the Tailwind team right now to see if like, I don't know if they're going to allow this, but I want to see if we can give everyone in the class access to their premium components because their component library is so good. Like but it's so expensive. It's like $300. But if I can get like an education license, then maybe we can get access to it. But no promises yet. But I'm basically just gonna keep begging them every single week until we can see if we can get access. But basically, as you can see, like you would have access to all the other components, which would be super sick. But yeah, and if they don't follow up and they're not agreeable, then we'll just all bombard them on Twitter until they give us access. That's our plan. Just kidding, but definitely want to get access there. Oh whoa, I didn't even know they give the e-commerce components for free, so you can put together like these are actually pretty good. They actually give you a lot for free. Like these are all free components, right? Oh, I guess it's just the first one for each section, but it's not bad. Yeah, for sure. Always happy to help. Oh, sorry, I try to do a better job of being more responsive in Discord, but lately I've just been like so trying to just finish this app as quickly as possible that I think once that's done, I'll be a little better at that. But yeah, for sure. All right, it is getting a little late over here, so I might start to wind down the stream. Any office hours tomorrow? I'd love to do office hours tomorrow, but tomorrow I have like kind of a weird schedule. I probably can't do it tomorrow, but I am going to do it on Monday. So if that's okay. So yeah, unfortunately can't do office hours this week. It's kind of a really weird week for me in terms of scheduling. But Monday, I'll go ahead and schedule something actually now. I guess we could do a quick poll. Like, what time on Monday would be ideal for the people here? Like, would you prefer? For me, it's either best to do like 12 p.m. EST. So I'll just put the awesome here. 12 p.m. EST versus 7 p.m. EST. And how do you polls in Twitch? 12 p.m. EST versus, where's the EDT? Versus 7 p.m. All right, let's have a vote. Just an impromptu chat vote. All right, so I do see 2 7 p.m.s. All right, so it's all right. It's a clear winner right here. I guess we have 7 p.m. Okay, all right, 7 p.m. on Monday is good, and that'll just be like the office hours time, going forward. Sorry, Jackie. I mean, we have a dinner scheduled, but I'm sorry. Office hours is important. Oof. I know, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble now. All right, y'all, it's been good. I'm gonna go ahead and schedule that office hours in the next boot camp. Yeah, exactly. You got the morning, I'm sleeping on the couch tonight. All right. Trying to think what else I missed, but yeah, I think that pretty much covers it today. Thanks y'all for joining as always. But yeah, I guess I'll see you guys on Monday, and then I'll see you on if I don't see you on Monday, no worries. I'll see you on Tuesday for the JavaScript session, so that'll be fun. All right, y'all, it's been good. Thank you so much for joining. Feedback form, of course, is available if you want to fill that out. But I know a lot of people here, like the feedback. There's been like, I expect like less feedback over time, just because a lot of the big changes happen at the beginning. But of course, if you want to give feedback, you're always welcome to use that link. All right, but yeah, great night, everyone. See y'all on Monday. Have a good weekend. Take care.